Good morning. I'm Pete Najarian. This is the Take for Market Rebellion on this Tuesday morning, and a little bit more selling on Monday to follow up that brutal day of pain, to quote the Fed chair himself last Friday, down 1,000 points on the Dow. It's just one of those things where I've come back to it a couple of times now, but it was pretty remarkable to see just the heavy selling that we had. Well, we had a little bit of a recovery, and then the selling came back, and we actually finished the day just above 32,000 yesterday for the Dow, and we were down about 180 points or so. But the NASDAQ also holding on to 12,000. That was down about 124, 125 points yesterday as well. So we are still seeing some markets that were under pressure following the Fed chair's pain comments on Friday. Just does make me wonder, does he regret the fact that that was the verbiage that he used, or maybe that was exactly the point? I'm not really sure, but very interesting. And obviously we all probably would have known what the reaction would be to hearing that kind of way of describing the markets. The volatility index, yes, up there towards that 26 level and held on to 26. We did have volumes a little bit lighter, a little bit surprising, but about 37 million. We are going into the Labor Day and the shortened week next week. So that might be something that folks are starting to look ahead and trying to get back to schools and all the rest of the things that are going on in the lives of so many Americans and so forth. That's, I think, part of what we were seeing and why we maybe are a little bit lighter on some of those volumes. I look at crude. It was up there towards that 96 level again, actually even approaching 97. You had nat gas up there towards 935. Pretty nice move to the upside there. Would that sustain? We'll see. I'll talk about that in just a second. We have the 2-year up there towards 3.4 and maybe even a little bit above that. And then you look over at the 10-year, right near that 3.1 level. And another, as we've talked about, when you start to see that 10-year above 3, a little bit of a consideration of selling, that might have contributed a little bit more to what we were seeing over the last couple of days as well. Energy. Yeah, that was the one bright spot. We were up about 1.5% yesterday as we've watched the price of crude, natural gas, and all of that moving to the upside. Those beta names really were commanding yesterday. It was names like Diamondback and APA and Halliburton and Schlumberger and Marathon Oil and Occidental. We talked about that in continuous buying that we have seen in Occidental. 2 steps forward, maybe even 3 steps forward, 1 step back is what we have been witnessing pretty regularly, it seems like, oftentimes in the energy space, but specifically for Occidental itself, with all of the conversations about Warren Buffett and what he's been doing and the possibilities of maybe owning 50% of that stock. So that certainly stood out. What also stood out was technology. That was down about 1.25%. So what we were getting on the energy side, we were removing from the technology side. Apple, Tesla, Meta, Microsoft, you get the idea. They were all to the downside. That was pulling things down in terms of technology. We had the communication sector down about 1%. We had financials down about 0.75%. Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley definitely leading there, along with names like Citi. Throw in Jefferies. How about American Express? all getting pulled to the downside. And then when we look at those communications, you don't have to look much farther than Snap. You look at Twitter, you look at Meta, you look at Pinterest, those kind of names, all in negative territory, pulling on the market. So what was really actually pretty strong yesterday? We talked about it here on the take, but PDD, certainly when you look at through those numbers, now they didn't give guidance, but when you look at those numbers, extraordinary numbers, very, very impressive. The earnings were strong. That was a stock yesterday that definitely was ripping to the upside, up 14, 15, 16%. I think it finished the day up about 14%. We had some help from Walmart as well. And of course, in energy, it's not just those beta names. You look at Exxon, you look at Chevron, certainly pushing things to the upside as well. Okta, Workday, I'm looking at those semiconductors. That was what really stood out yesterday, pulling on the markets as well. We talked about technology. How about that subsector of the semiconductors? Names like AMD, NVIDIA, Marvell, Applied Materials, all getting hit to the downside. And let's not forget about a name like a Salesforce, also part of the Dow, but getting hit pretty decent as well, along with maybe a 3M, throw in some Merck. You get a little bit of an idea of what was going on yesterday. So as we get into today, you wonder, can we hold on to any kind of gains? Pre-market, we had some gains. We were up about 70 points in the pre-market on the Dow, about 40, 50 points on the NASDAQ. We did start the day right around that same range, but we also saw the NASDAQ starting to move a little bit higher and a little bit higher. Well, by the time we got towards that first half hour, a little bit of news here and there, markets definitely started to get that rug pulled out from under them. We started to get to the Dow. The Dow got all the way back down towards flat in that first half hour or so, into negative territory, along with the NASDAQ. Last I looked, right before coming on, we were down about 160 points for the Dow, call it 75, maybe 80 points for the NASDAQ. Just cannot hold on to that momentum early on. We'll see if that changes. Obviously, one of the changes, take a look at what was going on with crude. Crude started the day around 95, maybe a little bit under 95. Next thing you know, you blink and you see it at 92. Natural gas down about 4%. Not even able to hold on to that 9 level, but right beneath $9 right now. You look at Bitcoin, that was up over 20,000. Look at the VXN, the volatility index for the NASDAQ. Boy, that says it all. Back and holding above that 30 level, sitting right around 32. I'm looking at the VIX itself, trading right around 26 is where the measurement is right now for that VIX itself for the S&P 500. 2-year, a little bit higher. 10-year, a little bit higher. About a 3.11 now for the 10-year. Just kind of incrementally just going a little bit higher, feels like each and every day. Early on, first hour, everything was red. And as a matter of fact, I'm sure that we are probably adding a little bit more to what we are seeing in terms of those sectors early on. I'll tell you what, it was names like consumer discretion. Started off the day up about 1%. That slid into negative territory. Communications up about 0.75%. That slid into negative territory. We look at technology up about 0.5%, down about 0.5%. You get the idea. There's a theme here. Financials up about 0.4%, down about 0.4%. Energy just continued the slide. It was down 2.5%, and it was down 3%, a little bit more than 3%. You get the idea. We are definitely seeing across the board that selling, as I said, every single sector, at least for the moment that I looked, was in the red. We did have some positive news out there, though. Names like Best Buy, their guidance stayed about the same. They did beat on earnings. That was a stock that was moving to the upside. We still are in earnings season, and we'll continue to be monitoring some of those different names. But it wasn't just Best Buy. Early on, we had Etsy. We had a lot of those cruise ship names. I'm looking at Norwegian. I look at Carnival. I look at Royal. All were in positive territory, along with Boeing. So it wasn't all selling, but started to slip. We started to see a little bit more kind of leaking down from being in that bright green to maybe getting in towards yellow, or maybe getting into the red. Nike, Salesforce, all of those were positive early on. Seagate, not. That was under pressure right out of the gate, along with those beta energy names as we watch that slide in crude. Boy, those beta names, as we talk about, they work that same way that they go up. They pull the rug out very, very rapidly as well. I tell you what, it was Baker Hughes and Marathon Oil and Halliburton and Occidental. Yes, I talked about how there's 2 or maybe 3 steps forward. This is a day where it maybe is a step backwards for that name. Mosaic, it had multiple days in a row where we saw that ag space where it was just up up, up, up. Now we're starting to see a couple days in a row where we're seeing it pull back just a little bit. Lucid was under some pressure early on, along with Caterpillar, Merck. You get the idea. By the way, today at the market close, going to be a great opportunity. We've got Ryan, we've got Wayne. We're talking about a lot of the great guys here at Market Rebellion. They do an unbelievable job day in and day out with the unusual option activity. And they're, along with myself, they are going to be joining me at the market close to be able to just show you how we see and how we view the unusual option activity, how we navigate those markets, how we follow the smart money. That's not just a cliche line. It's seeing those unusual options and then trying to figure out the best methods to follow, because there are a lot of different ways that you can kind of position yourselves into that. We'll be talking about that at the market close today. You can sign up now. If you do sign up and you cannot make it, we'll send that out to you, but hopefully you're able to get there right at the market close, 3 p.m. Central Time, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Don't skip that one. You're going to want to hear how the guys are navigating through these markets. Today being a great example. We were starting off in positive territory. Rug comes out. And we're down in very decent negative territory in a hurry. Two unusuals and we're out of here. Gap stores trading just below $10 a share. We got a buyer of almost 8,000 of Fridays expiring September 2nd. The 10 calls. So right on top of where we are right now, will we see a little bit of a move to the upside? Those are only 20 cents up to about 30 cents for those options in gap that we're trading right beneath that $10 level. Secondly, how about DraftKings itself? Trading underneath 17, trading about 16 3/4, trading about 4,000 of the September 17 calls. So again, very much like gap stores. Buying something, this does offer you a little bit more time. That's what they're targeting. Third Friday in September. These are regular expiring options here, not September 2nd. These are regular expiring options. The 17 calls going for about $1. We did see that happen, and we also saw some hedging by selling a further out option. For those that understand that, great. For those that don't, you might want to understand that. We may be talking about some of that today at the market close. If not, you do want to educate yourself in the derivatives markets. Folks, it's going to be a wild ride again, and hopefully you get a chance to see some of the unusual option activity along the way. Look for us today. It's Tuesday, with Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. John and I, Eastern sharp, 1 p.m. We'll be kicking that off. We've already got what we're looking at right now as far as the 4 topics. We also have the unusual option activity. He and I got a little bit of time to pick out some of those, select the names that we're going to use. And we're going to have some sports items as well. You're going to like to hear what we are going to be kicking around on the sports side as well. 2 former linebackers talking about tennis. Yeah, we might be doing that. We'll also be talking about football and what's the mindset of some of these football players as we get closer and closer, not only college football kicking off, but NFL as well. I'm Pete Najarian. Have a great day of trading.